皆さんこんにちは、あしやです。今日はまた大阪の方にね来てるんですけど、はい、大阪ナンバーにいる人って言えばおっきーさんですね。
大阪で言えば、はい、今日は何をしましょう。
今日はまたちょっとインタビューをねしていきたいと思いますけれども。
First time being on the broadcast。
現地の外国人の方ですね。
はい、アホな外人。でも外国語の勉強大好きやで。
日本大好きやで。
日本大好き。
面白いこれ。
ロシアも大好き。
じゃあ一緒に、インタビューしていきましょうか。
今日はどういうことを聞いていくんですか。
今日はねやっぱりもうこれも気になるけどカルチャーショックについて
カルチャーショック
何かカルチャーショックっていうのあれば日本来た時、どうですか。カルチャーショックありました。
めっちゃあった。
例えば
正直ぶっちゃけ日本人男性ってそんなにゲームやらないこと。
そうなんだ。やらないんだ。
面白い。
多分ロシアとアメリカは同じやけど。
パソコン。
そうパソコンとかゲームめっちゃやる。
確かに。
あんまりやらん。
確かにパソコンではやらん。
やらん。
そう。やけどいろんなゲームは日本から聞いたのなのに。
確かに。
そう。
なんでやらないんだっていうのは。
輸出してるだけでこっちはやってないっていう。
いやそう。
確かに俺も全然やってない。
そうでしょ。
Why Japanese people?
Why Japanese people?
いやわかんない。いやなんでやねん。
なんでやねん。First of all, I wanna ask you where are you from?
I'm from Vancouver in Canada.
Oh, you're from Canada. I see. Okay. Is it your first time to Japan?
Yeah, first time.
You're traveling alone or with some friends?
I'm traveling alone, but I know a lot of people who are in Japan right now, so I'm sort of moving around between different friend groups.
Okay, I see. So how long did you stay in Japan?
I've been here for about a month. I'm going to be going back in a couple of days.
Oh, it's so long. So which place did you visit this time?
Tokyo, Osaka, obviously, Kyoto, Nara, Himeji, and Hiroshima.
That's so many places you visited. Oh, it's so cool. Also, what brought you to Japan?
So it's partially that a bunch of people I knew were there, but then also I grew up in a Japanese community in Vancouver, and so I sort of was around the culture my whole life, and just always felt like it was someplace that eventually I should go, so it seemed like a natural fit.
So maybe if you have opportunities to communicate with Japanese people in your country, but now when you came to Japan, do you have some culture shock? Something you was really surprised here?
Yeah, it's definitely very, very different. I feel like the biggest thing that I notice regularly is that people are much more collective oriented. In crowds, there's very little shoving and pushing. If you're in people's way, when people get off the train, they walk kind of single file out of the station. People will pick up their trash, in North America, where I think people are much more of a kind of I've got mine, screw everybody else kind of mentality. I think in Japan things are much more sort of less individualistic, I guess.
Do you like it about Japan?
Yeah, I prefer that kind of outset a lot more, because it feels like people are nice to you. People are a lot more kind of pleasant to be around. They're much, North America people, if they're being loud in public, they don't care. Even if you tell them to be quiet, they don't care.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I really appreciate being here.
Okay, thank you. So maybe you do have another things you really like about Japan?
I mean, the scenery is really, really beautiful. All of the sort of nature, and then how a lot of natural space is blended in with urban environments. There's parks all over the city, and all of the castles and other historical sites usually have some kind of nature blended into them. That's really, really nice to see, and something I appreciate a lot.
The temples and maybe modern buildings and this mixed in one
it's
place.
An interesting mix.
Yeah, I think so too. Thank you for answering. Please have fun. Maybe you have only a couple days, but please come next time to Japan.
Right on.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Y otra persona, gracias por entrevista. ¿De dónde eres?
Es un poquito complicado, pero soy como de Japón, América y México.
Medio México y Japón.
Sí, pero nací en América, entonces también soy americano. Sí, soy Pues nací en América, California, pero también viví en México por unos años. Entonces,
¿Y cuántos años vivo en Japón?
como 10 años ya.
Today I want to ask you about some culture shock in Japan. Maybe if you're living here for long years, you can understand more. What did you surprise? Maybe when you just came to Japan and now.
Una cosa es que me sorpresa mucho es que puedo tomar mucho y hacerme borracho en la calle, pero nunca voy a perder nada, nadie va a tomar mis cosas, ¿sabes?
¿Es diferente en México y América?
Si estoy por ahí en las calles, no quiero emborracharme y como tomar tanto porque no sé qué va a pasar por ahí, pues no están, ¿cómo se dice? Safe, no están safe en esos lugares, creo. 物をなくしてもそのケース使うとその何かなそう電車でなんか物をその落とせればもうその電車の人はもう私にあげるみたいな感じそのロストンファンドのところそのたまになんつうのそう
それよくやっちゃいますか？
たまにたまに
なるほどなるほど。治安がいいってことなんですね。
そういう感じかな。
¿Y otras?
Entonces, como otra cosa que es muy impresionante es que muchas veces veo como niños o niñas muy chiquitos en el tren y no les pasa nada y pueden ir sin ningún problema y no creo que eso pasa en América o en México tanto, ¿verdad? Sí, en Japón no tienes problemas.
子供は一人で出かけても大丈夫ってことなんだね。
Sí, así es. Es lo que he visto yo.
これだけ日本の治安がいいってことなんですね。じゃあ、cosas te gusta vivir en Japón?
Una cosa muy buena es que el transporte es muy, ¿cómo se dice? Barato y es muy fácil irte a ningún lado aquí. Como si quieres ir a Tokio, Kobe o cualquier lugar, pues puedes irlo muy rápido y muy fácilmente. Y no es tan caro también. Sí.
ね、日本の電車は確かにすごい。私も電車大好きなのでわかりますけど。
En América necesitas carros todo el tiempo y cuestan mucho dinero. Tú sabes, ¿verdad?
In America and Mexico, maybe they have like only subway in the city, but not really like between cities, the trains between cities, right?
Para América no creo que tienen tantos y también México depende del lugar, pero no tienen. Sí.
なんか日本だと全部つながってるね。もう全部この神戸から例えばね、京都まで行って。東京。
青森、puedes ir cualquier lugar que quieras, pues.
どこでも行ける。やっぱりね、それだよね。私もだから日本の電車大好きだけど。Gracias muchos, muy interesante. 面白い話ありがとうございます。Okay, thank you for answering. First of all, where are you from?
Australia,
Wow, cool. How long are you staying in Japan?
but I've been here for 6 months now.
For 6 months.
Well, actually, I think in a couple days it's 7.
About 7 months. Okay, so you're working in Japan.
Yes,
Okay, first of all, what brought you to Japan?
it's sort of a mix between the culture, the language, and where I grew up. So I grew up in a small town called Cairns, and we have a heavy Japanese influence there.
A lot of Japanese people living in Australia.
Of course, yeah.
日本語話せますか？
ちょっと日本語は上手じゃない。
でも喋れるんだ。勉強してますか？
勉強します。
じゃあ日本に来てびっくりしたこととかカルチャーショックとか今7ヶ月ぐらい過ごして日本でいうカルチャーショックみたいな面白い何か気がついたことありますか？オーストラリアと全然違うとか。
The culture shock is very mixed. Like some things seem to relate quite, naturally to the Western, but other things are just so different. It's a little bit frustrating, in fact. So I would start with work and the fact that you get paid monthly here. Then there's the pension, yet I'm a foreigner, and it doesn't make sense because. And then also there's the health insurance you have to pay each month. And then just the way the tax works is very, very different to where I'm from. But there are good things, mainly the fact that when it comes to accommodation, it is a lot cheaper here. So that's sort of nice. You may pay 600 Australian dollars for a 23-meter squared place in Japan, but in Australia you would probably pay $600 a week
Oh,
So it's quite substantial.
it's so expensive in Australia
Yes.
to live there.
Accommodation, yes. But the difference is I earn more money in Australia than I do here.
So in Australia, the payment is more.
Definitely.
Hi.
Yeah. The job I worked at university, like while going to university, was higher than anything that I can get here.
Wow. Yeah, I know in Australia it's the salary is high, but even if so, the life is very expensive too. But
course.
that's so interesting because when I came from Russia in Japan to rent like apartment, it's so expensive. But for Australian people, it's cheap.
It is actually a lot cheaper.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Especially the fact that I can live by myself here. In Australia, if I wanted to live by myself, I would have to pay so much. It's a bit too much, especially to rent.
Yeah, I know. Like in Japan, even if you like part-time job, you can rent your
Yeah, of
apartment
course.
and
you could
can.
not do that in Australia unless you were sharing it with maybe 3 or 4 other people.
I heard about it, and I think it's really cool about Japan. So you can live by yourself, almost any work. Something more?
I would say the dating culture is very, don't know the word for it, but it's like 3 dates and then apparently your boyfriend, girlfriend.
Yeah.
That horrifies me because how are you supposed to know another human being after 3 dates? It makes sense if you've known each other at school for a very long time, but if you've only gone on 3 dates, it doesn't make any sense to be a girlfriend, boyfriend, right?
I think so. Yeah.
How do you know a person after 3 dates? Sorry, there's only so much you can learn over text messages, right?
I know the culture about relationships is so different.
Oh, definitely. In Australia, especially as you get older, a relationship is a very big thing. And if you don't know each other, you won't get into a relationship.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something fickle. It's not something easy. It's not.
Maybe in Japan, being girlfriend and boyfriend, it's more like easy thing.
Yeah, but isn't that supposed to be exclusive? So does that mean
Yeah,
that
exclusive, yeah.
if you're exclusive,
Yeah.
you can't be with someone else, right? That's why it's seen as such a big thing because you're committing to someone. But then if it's 3 dates and you don't like them and then you break up, does that mean you never talk to each other again?
I don't know. Maybe you can be just friends, but I don't really know.
I don't think that
how it
really
works.
happens very much.
Maybe no. Wow, that's interesting. じゃあ、ありがとうございます。日本語の勉強頑張ってください。貴重な話聞かせていただきました。ありがとうございます。はい、こんな感じで今日のインタビューいかがだったでしょうか。やっぱりね、日本にお住まいの方になかなか深い話してくれるので、それは面白かったから、今度はね、またやっぱり日本にお住まいの方に日本に来たばっかりとか、ある程度住んでる外国人面白いこと話してくれるのでまたお聞きしたいと思います。ではこんな感じで大阪楽しかったので撮影のご協力していただいた方ありがとうございました。また次の動画でお会いしましょう。